Hello everyone, welcome yet again to another lecture of democratic politics from your class 10th. The name of the chapter is Challenges to Democracy. My name is Ashwin Joglekar and I am from Resonance PCCP division. So let us begin with the challenges. Now first of all, जैसे ये word challenges comes, what is challenge? A challenge is something which can be overcome. It is not, it definitely a roadblock or an obstacle, but those things which can be overcome. So therefore, what can be the challenge to democracy? Now, in terms of challenges to democracy is the last chapter of your democratic politics. That means throughout your journey from your class 9th as well as class 10th in terms of democratic politics, this is the end of that journey. Now, what challenges which are faced by different democracies of the world, that is what we will be looking at in this chapter. Now, introduction, that is democracy is the dominant form of government in the contemporary modern world. However, democracy faces serious challenges all over the world, though not in form of any rival or a challenge. A challenge is not just any problem. People usually call only those difficulties a challenge which are significant and can be overcome. In other words, a challenge is a difficulty that carries within it the opportunity for progress. Once people overcome a challenge, they go up to a higher level than before. Different countries face different type of challenges. So therefore, democracy in itself therefore faces a number of challenges, and probably once it overcomes a certain challenge, probably on the next level, next higher level, a different challenge is waiting for it. So thinking about challenges, different countries, as we mentioned, face different kinds of challenges. That can be foundational challenge, challenge of expansion or deepening of democracy. At least 1/4 of the globe is still not under democratic government. The challenge for democracy in these parts of the world is very stark, that is whether they will become democratic countries or not. And again, many of the countries also face that the very foundations of democracy are not established till there. As soon as probably effort is being made to establish democracy, it again restores or again goes back to the old style of functioning. These countries face the foundational challenge or making the transition to democracy and then instituting democratic government. This involves bringing down the existing non-democratic regimes and keeping military away from controlling government and establishing a sovereign and functional state. Second is challenge of expansion. Now, once the democratic government has been established, how could you expand this democratic institutions in other parts, in other institutes as well, or institutions of your country? This involves applying the basic principles of democratic government across all regions and different social groups and various institutions, ensuring greater power to local governments, extension of the federal principle to all the units of the federation, inclusion of women and minority groups as well, giving them rights, fall under this challenge. This also means that less and less decisions should remain outside the arena of a democratic control. That is, majorly all decisions should be taken in a democratic way. Now, next comes is deepening of democracy. This involves strengthening the very institutions of democracy and practices of democracy. This should happen in such a way that people can now realize their expectations out of democracy, and this challenge takes different meanings and different parts in different parts of the world. In general terms, it usually means strengthening those institutions that help people in participation and control, so that we can increase the overall participation of the public or people in democracy. Second topic comes here is thinking about political reforms. Now, each challenge is linked to the possibility of reforms. If there is a challenge, there can always be a possibility that we can reform it or better it. Generally, all the suggestions or proposals about overcoming various challenges to democracy are called democratic reforms or political reforms. Some broad guidelines to be kept in mind while devising ways and means for political reforms in India are: now, law has an important role to play in political reform. Carefully devised changes in law can help to discourage wrong political practices and therefore encourage good ones. But legal constitutional changes by themselves are not enough to overcome the challenges. Why? Because many a time probably if there is too much of pressure on the political parties, they might find or try and find methods to or the loopholes in that law, so that they can probably sideline themselves from these laws. But legal constitutional changes by themselves cannot overcome the challenges. Political activities, parties, movements and politically conscious citizens also have to take part. Any legal change must carefully look at what results it will bring have on politics. Sometimes the result may be counterproductive. Generally, laws that seek to ban something are not very successful in good things, have more chances of working. The best laws are those in which they can empower people to carry out democratic reforms. Such a law will help to control corruption and probably supplement the existing laws that banned corruption and imposed strict penalties. Third point, democratic reforms are again to be brought about principally through political practice. Therefore, the main focus of political reform should be on ways to strengthen democratic power or practice. The most important concern should be, that is, to increase and improve the quality of political participation by ordinary citizens, because ultimately the power in a democracy should reside with the citizens. Any proposal for political reform should think not only about what is good solution, but also about what and who will implement it and how. It is not very wise to think that it is just the legislatures will pass legislation, again that will go against the interest of the political parties and the MPs, member of parliaments. But measures that rely on democratic movements, citizens organizations and the media are likely to succeed, and that is how probably the reformation or reforming of politics should be based on. Okay, thank you so much for today's video. We'll do the remaining part in the next one.